Real coaches know that there are incredible rewards to be had from skillful coaching at any level.
My charter as a coach just involves two things, and they're the same things for the national coach or the guy who coaches the under-11s. If you're a coach, your responsibility is to make it fun and interesting. Those two things are essentially what it's about.
As a coach, I need to know me first. I need to know who I am, what I'm about, what I'm promoting, before I can sell it to anybody else.
The role of the coach, to me, is to have a good, clear perception of the skill, know when there's a difference in the player, and then drop the intervention process in place, execute it, and have a better performance at the finish.
My advice would be as enthusiastic about the game as the player. Do your best to understand the player, and keep your advice simple. The simple stuff always works.
You've got to ask yourself, continuously ask yourself the question, what seems impossible, but if we did it would make a big difference?
I think the higher up I go, I think the simpler I get, because I don't see any point in people who have already got a technique in overcomplicated matters even more so. I don't see the point in making things overly complicated when the game can be pretty simple at the end of the day in regards how to bowl, how to field, how to bat.
I think if you do it in the right way, they should have fun. And when I say fun, I'm not talking about the laughy, aren't we having a great time sort of fun, guys. I'm talking about the fun of challenging yourself and trying to see how good you can be, both individually and as a team.
I want the players to enjoy themselves. I want them to play with a smile on their face, because I believe that you see the real person, and when they're under pressure, I actually know what the real person is then, because we've had a smile, and it's always set around a sort of learning and enjoyable culture, and that's why we think we've got the best out of these girls.
Fun is very important, enjoyment is very important. The players must come and look forward to being there, and they must leave in the same vein.
The game is about basics for me, and part of my style is, as I've played and coached, clarifying certain basics that are really you have to be able to do. But if you've got those in your head as a coach that you think are really important, on top of those foundations, you can then start to build the flair and the individualism of each player.
Make sure they can do the basics first. Once they can do the basics, you move on to the next stage. Yep, they're handling that fine. Let's move on a little bit more. And you know, you're just having little checkpoints, not just diving in there. And even if they're very good, just make sure everything's in check there, and then move on gradually. And then hopefully, by the end of it, you'll have some good rounded athletes.
All the coaches that I've worked with in the Caribbean have always told me what to do. Not to say that I don't like that style, because perhaps when I was young, that's what I wanted. But then I started to travel and I understood things better. And then when I came back, and I would ask a question, and often asking a question was a no-no. If you ask a question of a coach, you would say, hang on a minute, don't ask me questions, I tell you what to do. You know, and that's how people coached, you know. When I started working in England with the ECB, John Harmer had a massive influence. I liked John Harmer. He was a good coach, he had a good manner. You had absolute clarity in what he was talking about, and you felt like you could do it.
At the end of a 40-minute session, I want to make them better than when they came in at that 40-minute session. And I want the player to understand the fact that I'm actually here to make them better.
It's a coach's responsibility to get their players to love the game, because that gives you the longevity of them wanting to learn as well. And motivation's intrinsic, and if you can't get them to enjoy it, then you probably won't get the latter.
I really like educating on the game of cricket as quick as I can, and if that happens, hopefully their skills stand up.